Welcome to the Light of God's Way, YATUVAY. I'm Adolphina Shephard, and this is my co-host, Thomas Knights Templar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, folks, we have a wonderful show for you tonight. As always, tonight's subject is karma, transmutation, and clearing. And this is an extremely important modality and technique because of the magnitude of karma, how important it is. You may not know it, but karma can kill you, it can make you sick, it can make you mad as a hatter. Okay, so karma is key to everything. It really is.
It's true.
And you know, it doesn't disappear overnight. Normally, most people would need 30 or 40 sessions, and you're going to be shocked at the number of sessions that are required when we get to the world karma and the country karma. So we'll just move right along because there's so much to cover tonight. I guess the easiest way to talk about this is the golden rule. See, there's a golden rule for a reason. And that golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And it also says in the Bible that we reap the sins of our fathers 7 times, I believe.
You reap what you sow.
Yeah, you reap what you sow. So even our ancestors, we incur their karma. So this is important for your children's sake, for everyone else. So one of the things is that people don't realize is that most of our karma, our negative karma, comes from past lives. You may be a saint in this lifetime, but supposing in your past lifetimes you weren't so good.
You're a tyrant.
You could have been a tyrant, for instance, right, just as Tommy said. But there's many things, like suppose you were a pirate, or in today's definition would be a mercenary. Or how about killing people in wars? You know, we don't think about that too much, but...
Isn't that usually what you do in a war?
Right, but you think about the 10 Commandments. What is it?
Thou shalt not kill,
right? And that doesn't just mean people, but even animals. You see so much in the way of animal cruelty, and so...
More and more today, you're seeing it.
Yeah, more and more. It seems like the good people are getting better and the bad people are getting worse, right?
Yes.
So this is why it's so important.
See, that's what I think is good and evil. It's the separation of getting closer to the light or getting further away from it.
Well, you're right, because darkness is nothing more than the absence of light. So this is key. Now, karma is kind of like having a bank account. If you do good deeds, it will be stored in your good deed karma. And if you do bad deeds, it's stored in your bad deeds karma. So you build a bank account. And there's some other things you might want to consider. Like, for instance, how about, do you remember when there were cannibals? I mean, people eating people.
I don't remember when there were cannibals. You know? I live in New York.
But I mean,
you know.
in history, do you know what I mean? In history, you
Yes,
read
in
about
history.
karma, right?
Yes.
And so there are the cannibals, and then think about the pedophiles.
All right.
Oh my God. Imagine that these pedophiles are preying on innocent little children, right?
Okay.
So that has got to be, because you know what? It's all about stealing their innocence and their soul and the power. So that's really bad. And did you hear about the thing in Canada where they recently found from an orphanage, supposedly that the church was involved with, that they found 500 mass graves?
Oh boy.
Yeah, and so these were all children that supposedly were in...
Down syndrome or something?
Well, no, they were satanic rituals. They were
Oh,
killed
okay.
and things like that. So can you imagine the
And then
karma?
you have to figure, they would probably figure out who would care about them.
Yeah, and think about the karma. The karma. Oh my God, for this.
Think
with
about
these
the
children.
unrest. I wouldn't want to be in that place.
Oh my God, no way. So, you know, these things are really bad. Like, oh, and what about the children that were just kidnapped?
The 300 girls, yeah.
300 girls, and now they talk about selling them as sex slaves. This isn't today's age. I mean, this is just a horror.
It's just a sick situation, and you know, I feel for them. I really do. You know, and for their families, because you know, you send your kids to school, even in Nigeria, you don't expect this kind of terrorism to come and take innocent girls and then selling them
I know.
as wives to these Muslim hordes that did this.
Right.
You know, it's sickening. It's disgusting.
I know. Now, if it disgusts us, imagine how it disgusts God. You
Well-
know? So, you know, these things are being exposed every time you turn around, all these secrets and so forth, and you don't get it in the mainstream media, I'll tell you that
Absolutely
right now.
not.
You have to.
This story didn't break into the media until it was blowing up all over the place on the internet and Facebook and all these
YouTube
different things.
probably.
Even Michelle Obama had a sign saying, "Bring our girls home." Well, you know, I'm sure that, you know, over the course of time, you know, in these regions and stuff like that, it's not only these 300 girls, but there's a lot of this kind of stuff that went on,
Yeah.
and it goes under the table. Nobody sees it or hears it.
Right, you know where it was shown in the movie Taken 1 and 2?
Taken, yeah.
Yeah, where these girls are being kidnapped, like just at airports and so forth when they're traveling.
They're on vacation.
And drugged and sold into sex slavery. I mean, it's terrible. Well, I mean, the reason we're talking about this is karma, and yet these people never consider the karma they're building.
That's true. Liam Neeson, he fixed that. He killed them all.
Yeah, he did.
So
He
I
did.
guess their karma's done. You know, so that's it.
Well, the biggest challenge probably with the process of karma is that that people don't realize that there is such a thing. And because it's not been part of Christianity and so much in the U.S., and it's a more Eastern belief, but I tell you, it is true. And you just can't clear it and release it. Because, you know, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, you know what I do, what I say as far as that's concerned. I always declare in my prayers that I am under grace and not under karmic law. And yes, I do have to do that quite a lot to make sure I don't. But you know, the funny part about it, as I noticed, is that when you're around people who have negative karma, you're constantly on the defensive.
Right.
You got to get that crud off you, you know, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and that's the challenge, is people don't realize that they have this karma, and so they're building it. And you know, some of the ways to have an idea that there's karma in play is when things make no sense. That's part of it, and you can't figure out how this could possibly have happened over something really innocent. And either way you twist it, you can't figure it out. Well, a lot of times it's either because they're a dark spirit or because there's karma in play. So if you've been, here's some of the things to look for. Reoccurring drama of the same situation over and over and over again. Supposing you know someone who they wear their hair the same way, their makeup, their clothing.
Haven't changed since the 80s?
Right, no, not even the 80s. I mean, since like teenage years, you know. They're stuck in place.
The ones that have their hair parted down the middle and the part now 2 inches wide because the gravity is pulling their head down like this, you know. Come on.
My God. Well, you know, there's just so much. And also, a lot of times it will show up in people who are sick all the time or have accident after accident, or they're injured or they're paralyzed. A lot of beings, they have decided to come in, and they'll come in crippled with some illness or disease because they want to pay off some of their karma and some of their group soul karma by their family members taking care of them, to build compassion and build good karma. So a lot of times when you see this, you know, why did this happen to this person? It's because of their past life karma. So that's all a big part of it. Now, there is a board of karma in the higher dimensions, or heavenlies, however you want to say it. And basically, if you've bitten off more karma than you can chew on in this lifetime, if you are clairvoyant or you're trained in these matters, or you know someone who does, you can renegotiate a contract.
Sounds like the Teamsters.
Yeah, kind of like that, exactly. So they give their go-ahead or
break your
not.
leg.
Well, that's true, you know. So, but they're not. That's the karmic board. But there's also the lords of karma, and they're the ones who dispense. Like you decide before you incarnate how much karma you think you're going to be able to handle. And they will either agree or not agree, but you have free will. So sometimes you can bite off more than you can chew. And so they will make sure that these things happen.
Well, what about these people? You know the kind of people, like we were talking about it before, where they constantly say, you know, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm sick, I'm this, I've had so much bad luck. If it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck. And they just continually say this, and more stuff keeps happening. Are they actually sucking in bad karma?
I actually think in that case, when people say that, they're
They're
creating it
creating
each time
it.
they say,
Yeah.
I am.
Well, they're empowering it by doing it, using the Lord's name in vain, by saying something negative after the words, I am. That was the name that God gave Moses to return to the Israelites and, to tell the Pharaoh to let them go.
Well, that's a big part of it. But remember, each one of us is nothing more than a cell in the body of God. So when we say, I am, we're invoking that particle of God. And
they actually have a test where they can measure something in the brain that gets triggered when you say those words.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, since we are really just a cell in the body of God, so when we say that, we're invoking that God particle. And so you are creating it, but also, there's just so many variables in things like this. But the biggest problem is really that all of us, and I don't think there is one among us, person who has not played the dark in at least one life for balance and to see what it was like. And this is where the major karma is kept. Like, supposing you were one of these people that we just talked about, and in many lives you played the dark. Sometimes people like it, and so they keep playing it over and over again, and then they build up so much karma that their whole life is sheer misery because they have so much to clear or transmute. And there are the people who have a really hard time with that, and I think we know a couple of people like that. But what the big challenge is that number one, people don't know about it, because of the veil. We forget, and also because you cannot just clear karma. When you clear karma, and there are people out there teaching this, but I feel it's incorrect. To clear karma, the best way is to transmute it into grace and mercy. Because if you just clear it, what you're doing is releasing it for
Somebody
it
else.
to, well, no, you're releasing it for it to
Manifest.
go into play. So,
manifest.
right, so when you just clear it, let's say you do something faster than the timeline is supposed to be allowed, it can snowball on you to so bad. I actually know one person who died from it. And it was because it was magnetized so much because we were running karma clearing workshops at our house.
Yeah.
This is before I learned about the transmutation, and so it was magnetized by whoever was in there, and it was in her house, and her husband did wind up dying, and there was no logic
So you're
behind
saying
the whole
her
thing.
husband died because she was doing the clearing and not
Too fast, too much magnified by too many people, and it snowballed on her, and that's what wound up happening. And it snowballed on him too, because remember, we're all linked, and he was part of her soul group.
All right.
Yeah, so, and I also know another person, by the way, who he was a student, and even though, I said, only do this one time a month, well, he was psychic, so he thought that he should do his own thing, and he was better. So he wound up doing it every day for a couple of weeks. And the next thing I know, I get a call from him. He's in the hospital, nervous breakdown. And, I had to handle that situation and take care of that. And, so karma can be, it's touchy, and you have to do it the right way. So that's part of the whole thing.
So you're saying that, it would be best for you to do karma clearing transmutation like once a month?
Well, in the past, it was once a month. Now, years ago, I was told that things wouldn't take as long as they did now, because there was a group of us that would meet and we would do karma clearing, and we did it for 10 years, one time a month. But I was also told that there would come a time where things would be sped up, and then it would make it easier. And at this time, I'm actually told that most people, if they're transmuting it into grace and not clearing it, transmuting it instead, that you can do it one time a week.
Well, my proclamation that I always make is I am not under karmic law, I am under grace. I say that all the time.
I know, I've heard you.
And you know, look, karma, it's all around us, all right? People carry it around like luggage,
They do.
all right? And they share it with you. If you know, when people who have a lot of karmic build-up residue on them, when they talk to you and they're telling you their problems, they're transferring this stuff to you. Because if you give it any empowerment or any thought to empower it, then you proclaim it as yours.
Well,
because you're looking to help them, and you're going to be a target of their karma.
yeah, in a way you're right about that, because you know, if someone has a lot of karma and you're clear, their karma is going to set it into motion, and it may reflect on you too. So although I don't under any circumstances think that if you do God's service, service for God, by doing World Karma would say a prayer group or a church group or a light worker group or a healers group, that you incur the world's karma. I don't believe that at all, as long as you're transmuting it and you're doing it in service to God. But I do believe that you can get caught up in somebody else's karma.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If you're trying to help them, and they have a tremendous amount of karmic residue, and you're dealing with it, you're trying to explain to them things they should do and this, that, the other, unless you're protected against their karma, you know, when you're trying to help them, you're going to draw it. Because as you speak about it, negatively or positively, you are empowering it.
Well, I think that what happens is that people are in soul groups together, and there generally is karma in different categories. So maybe what we should do is start going through that, because I think it will kind of clear things up a little bit. So there are tons of different kind of karma. There's personal karma, which would naturally be you or me or whomever, okay? And for instance, if you killed somebody in another lifetime, at some point in the future, they may come back and kill you.
Did he deserve it?
Probably, because that's your negative karma balance. So, or let's say you're married to someone and they're just rotten to you all the time. You may have been in another life rotten to them. So now they come in so that they pay you back the karma.
Well, see, they would say to me, payback is a, you know.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so I've heard that one before. I don't need to hear it again.
Yeah, so you know, I mean, this is personal karma. Now, I'll tell you a story on one of my birthdays. It was a big one too, but I'm not going to share that one.
20.
20. Okay, let's say 20.
It was a good birthday.
Well, you know.
I remember you wore blue.
Oh, no, this wasn't a recent one. This is going back, I don't know, some years ago. But I have a girlfriend she's so wonderful. She's such a good friend. And on my birthday, she usually brings me a big bucket of lilacs, which I just love the odor of them. So she comes over early in the morning, and it's on my birthday, and I have a terrible, terrible stomach ache. And I can't seem to get rid of the stomach ache. And there was no, that I know of, reason for it. So she was our chakra balancing specialist of the group. So I said, oh my God, can you please help me with this pain I have in my stomach? Well, she tried. I got a couple other members involved. Oh, the stomach ache wouldn't go away. So finally, somebody says karma, and then I start. You know, when you're not feeling well yourself, it's hard to get information. So, but I finally got. Well, it's because when you break into another level, as your consciousness rises, and you break into another level of consciousness, you incur the karma in that dimension or level. Well, this was totally new. Totally new information. I've never seen it, read it, heard it anywhere. So I'm getting this information myself. So we realized what had to be done was a couple of karma sessions had to be run. So I had to live with the stomach ache until they could be done for a couple of days. And then finally, it could be cleared. And stomach ache was just gone just like that. You
sure it wasn't from lousy cooking?
No, it wasn't lousy cooking. Hey, I'm a good cook.
I had to make that all.
But no, you know, so that was how I learned that, you know, in different lifetimes, we are in different incarnations in different dimensions.
So you're saying in every dimension that we may ascend to, we're going to have to deal with
any karma we incurred previously, right?
In the one we just left?
No, let's just for example say your consciousness was in 4th dimension.
Okay.
But now you've achieved 5th dimensional consciousness. So now when you broke into 5th dimensional consciousness, now the karma in 5th dimension, you incur it suddenly. Whereas before, when you were in 4 dimension, you did not incur that karma that was in the 5th dimension. And each dimension has 12 layers. Levels, I should say, levels.
It's starting to sound like Mario Brothers. You know, you're going through different levels and levels and levels.
Right, that's what it is. It's really complicated. You know,
and
it
then
is.
12
It's
levels and
complicated.
another. Okay.
Yep, it's complicated. So each time you go through these different things, you can break into that new karma. So, because my karma had been totally absolved. My karma had been totally absolved, and I was off the karmic wheel. And so then it was not until I broke into this other dimension, conscious level dimension, that I incurred this new karma. And I couldn't believe it. And since then, it's probably happened maybe 6 or 7 more times. So now I have the personal experience to know that this actually happens. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. You don't have enough karma to deal with and to...
So when you are feeling ill or lightheaded or weak or tired, you know, you have to consider that.
Yes, you have to consider that. And, you know, as we go through, you know, so, I mean, if you can't get rid of it using all the means you know, let's say with that stomach ache, I like Pepto-Bismol, so I take some Pepto-Bismol.
What, no enema?
No enema. But you know what? Other people, my husband likes other products like Alka-Seltzer. I don't take that, you know, but nothing was working.
Pepsid, that's what I take, Pepsid. That's it.
So, you know, that's how I started. Whenever you can't figure something else, you have to dig a little deeper, you know?
I just call you.
Yeah, he calls me.
That's it.
Well, that's all right.
Adolphina, what's wrong with me? Ask God.
So, well, now we've covered personal karma pretty much. Let's go into family karma, because this family karma. Well, that's next.
Oh, okay, I just
family karma. Oh my God! I mean, who would think that you actually have family karma? So, in other words, let's say you're a saint in this life. You've cleared all your karma, but let's say your son or your daughter are not like you are, and then they incur karma. Well, guess what? Instead of getting egg on your face, you get karma on your face. And so it's important to do all of these different layers and different kinds of karma because, you know, especially if you come from a large family.
Well, is the modality or ridding yourself of it, is it the same for each type of karma?
Pretty much. You just have to change where the prayer is, where you leave a blank. You just have to then turn around and say, okay, let's switch from personal to family. You know, and then, of course, that will all be put into play.
Okay.
So I had no karma, and now I have 2 more I have to run from family, and that's from, you know, family members. So not perhaps following the golden rule
when you
perfectly.
When you clear that family member karma, all right, when you clear it out, do the family members still retain it?
No.
So
no, it is.
So you're clearing it for everybody in the family? Okay.
So, like, for instance, let's put it like this. Let's say you had it in your chart. Before you incarnated, you wrote your chart. And you said, okay, I am going to...
I wrote this?
Yeah, we write all this
never
crazy
wrote
stuff.
this.
I know. My girlfriends always tease me. You got us into that. You're crazy. You got us into it. It's your fault. It's your fault. You made us take on this much karma or whatever. You know, they like to tease me about that. But yeah, you know, I mean, this stuff can be really deadly. That's why it's so important. Now, so now next we have ancestral karma. Now, ancestral karma is just like it says in the Bible, the sins of the fathers. Well, I didn't realize until I started learning about karma that how true that is. And so we ran ancestral karma, and, you know, think about it. I don't know about you, but my father was in the war. Yeah. You know, his father was probably in another war, and so forth. So you're breaking the commandment by God, so naturally it's negative karma. And so...
So you're saying it's handed down father to son?
Yeah, father to son, mother to daughter.
We see on this particular thing, Christians on the whole, you know, when we go to church and everything else, you know, we pray for our families, we pray for our friends and those who are sick and all of that. But the people of Jewish faith, they do a process on, I think it's the Shabbat, or Shabbat, something like that. Shabbat, I think it is. It's on a Friday night at dusk. And the mother does a ritual, a candle ritual, which is really quite beautiful. I've watched it several times. And the father does something that I have never seen done in a Christian family. He goes to his children and he lays hands on them and he gives blessings to them, that they will be prosperous, they will be healthy, they'll be very smart, school, the whole thing. He gives a blessing. Wouldn't that dissolve this karma going from father to son, you know?
No, unfortunately, that I would say that's a blessing, but it's not karmic. You know, so I mean, it really gets pretty complicated, and you know, in ancient of days, people were really barbaric, and even today, there's a lot of barbaric things going on, like the wars, like chemtrails, like GMOs.
And they deny everything.
Yeah, and you know, believe me, they're building bad karma. Although, see, they don't believe they are, because they let us know in the media or in a movie or whatever. But that's a falsehood, and I have the way out for those of you who this is applicable to. So we'll go into that more as we go along. Now, so after we had completed my ancestral line on both sides of the family, by the way, on husband's side and my side, my next charge from father was to clear emotionally back all the 5 generations. Now, it was funny, it wasn't 7 generations for the emotions, but 5 generations. And so apparently that fear or that hatred or that anger or that grief can snowball downward because they're a part of us. So that all had to be cleared too. And
jealousy and envy.
Yeah, jealousy and envy, right.
Very powerful. When somebody's jealous of someone or envious of someone, that's negative karma. And that is really takes effect on people, and people don't know why all of a sudden they're getting sick and they can't explain it, and they think that they did something wrong. Meanwhile, somebody wishing them ill will. I mean, I just had a process of this just the other day, clearing a person's home of negativity. And it was a pretty intense situation.
Well, the home I moved into is over about 100 years old, and boy, it had tons of imprints of negative energy. And it was really odd too, because the house seems to have gotten lighter. Each time it seems
That's
like
what
we
this
do
person
the
told
work,
me.
yeah,
The
it
house
gets
is lighter,
lighter
yeah.
and lighter and lighter. I mean, it actually looked physically dark inside, and it wasn't the decor or anything, but each time we did the work to lighten the load on the house and remove that negative imprint, the house actually got lighter. Yeah, so I found that very interesting too. So
We have to know. So
there's really only one way to get off the wheel of karma, and that is what forces us to keep reincarnating, and that's if you absolve or resolve 51%. So if you have 51%, less than that resolved, you cannot get off the wheel. So you have to plan another incarnation. It might not be immediate, but you have to plan it to get it cleared up. Because you're not ready to what shall I say, let's use the word ascend. You read my mind, I'm telling you. You're not ready to ascend to higher levels or dimensions until you're wise enough to clear and resolve all your karma.
Well, isn't it a question of discernment? You need to be able to discern that point in that karma to, you pass that point where you no longer have to do it.
Well, I mean right, you're right. You have to discern each person that you work on, or for yourself or for your family, you have to discern it. One way or another, you have to know, have I accomplished this?
Yeah.
So you're right, that's so true.
Well, the bizarre thing that happened during the course of this thing that I did there was that I looked at a picture of the person, and there was another face in the picture, and immediately after I did what I did, it was gone, and the picture returned to being the person who I was visiting. And it was like, you know, this last grasp on, and it was like holding my arms like this, and I called Michael and invoked Michael and Uriel to come and get this thing and take it out of here, and then everything just changed. The atmosphere in the home just absolutely changed, you know. And it was an interesting thing. I don't usually do that, you know what I mean? But, you know, and I went over for a visit, and it wound up annoying me, so I had to go.
Yeah. Well, you know that I believe that your house, especially if you do any prayers, you pray, you do any energy work, you do any meditation, you always need to have your home protected by God, and you have to be able to clear out bad spirits, dark spirits, or any that's not there for your highest good, because sometimes they're just there being mischievous, but who needs the extra trouble, you know?
Who needs to expel the extra energy?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. So, you know, and people don't realize that. I remember a girlfriend of mine was in church, and she was standing before the statue of the Blessed Mother, and she was praying, and the next thing you know, she was psychically attacked. Now, thankfully, she was psychic herself, so she knew what was happening. But who would think, oh my God, I'm going in church, I got to ask for protection from God before I go into a church and pray? I mean, who would think that?
I had it happen in church.
Did
I
you?
was choked in church.
You know, that's because they always show in all these movies that churches are hallowed ground, so everything is off. I mean, you can't attack somebody in a church or whatever, you know,
Listen,
but it's
whatever
not
it was,
true.
if it was strong enough to punch a hole in this world, it was certainly strong enough to come in and choke me.
It choked you in
It
the
choked
church?
me. It's happened several times in several different venues, even happened here.
Wow. Yeah, I can see that could happen. You know, you have to really have your Archangel Michael army with you, you know?
I always do. I always do.
Oh, Lord. So now something recently I became aware of, and this is another category I've never heard of, but I realize that it's, each one of us have a soul group that we come in. And sometimes you have many, like different fractions. You know, this group here might be your family, this group here might be your TV station family, for instance, like that. And so, you know, they're also a side group of group soul karma. So, you know, it would behoove you, if there's drama going on in the soul group, it behooves you to run the karma for that.
Isn't it basically all the people that you've had in your life up until now have been with you over millennia?
Yeah.
You know, so soul group, you know, when people say to me, you know, you're in the same soul group and this, that, the other, I know I'm an indigo, okay? And I know that, I recognize that. And I know others who do the work with us are indigos, because we're at the same, not only soul level, but age level, you know, in this lifetime.
Yeah, because so many times you come in together, and even children.
The children are coming in as
crystals.
Crystals
or rainbows.
and rainbow crystal, and there's another one too. It's eluding me right now. But their soul group is going to be what they are. These are the teachers of tomorrow.
Right, that's true. That's true. And I was told recently, too, that this show is extremely important for the Ascended Masters coming in to know this information. So, you know, we'll get in. That's, by the way, that's a way of building good karma when you do this work to inform people of higher knowledge and to help them unbury themselves from this hole. And you're not even, you know, nobody's sending you lumps of money for it. You're building great karma, okay? So that's another thing. Now, in the group soul karma, and this happens in families too, you know, let's say you were my brother in another life, you know what? And but then in another life, you could have been the father or the mother or the sister or the cousin, you know.
So incestuous.
Yes, it really is. And you try on all these different roles, you know, for just to play. Well, you know what? You played the father last time, so I want to play the father this time type thing, you know? Yeah. And so you've played almost every type of role with your various group soul members.
Well, don't you actually choose that?
Yeah, you do. You choose that.
I mean, I'm thinking that given the choice of being a really good guy or a really bad guy, I don't think I would be a bad guy, you know? I don't feel it.
Well,
you
I
know?
don't feel it either, but
You know,
trust me, that's where all of our karma
I
comes
can't see
from for the
myself
most
being
part.
like Vlad the Impaler, you know, impaling people. I can't see that. You know, I don't think I've ever had that much badness in me.
You know. I wouldn't think that I would have either, but yet I know better because, you know, the veil is over us. It hides us from seeing that. And I've been fortunate enough to catch a couple of glimpses in astral travel and dreams where I've actually seen the bad me, which I can't even envision.
You had red hair at that time, right?
Could be.
Fire into red.
You're probably right.
And
you know that?
asbestos underwear from being down there.
Oh my God. Only you would come up with that, I'm telling you. But one of the cool things is that we do choose the roles. Like, for instance, you know, who is going to be the spiritual teacher in the family? You know, and I think in somewhere along the line, we all have a spiritual teacher in our family. Whether it's a priest or, you know, whatever title they have, it doesn't really matter. It's just the thing that they're the spiritual teacher. And then somebody else is generally the person who's the provider for the family. For we truly are a brother's keeper, right?
Right.
So there's that role too. And then who's going to be the connection to bring that particular soul group together? Who's going to be the connection?
Chase Manhattan Bank.
Chase Manhattan Bank?
Yeah. There's the connection between, that's it.
Well, I don't know about that, but I think in every
Somebody's
family.
got to put the money in there.
Well, that's true for that, but I'm talking about the connection of just bringing the family together or the soul group together or whatever like that. So now there's a great movie to watch. I think I've even watched it 3 or 4 times because it moves really, really fast.
What is it?
It's called Cloud 9, and it shows where people come in a soul group and all the different roles they played.
I believe
have
I've
you seen
it.
that?
It's an old movie.
No. It just came out a couple
I saw
years
an old
ago.
movie with a bunch of old actors, and they were up in heaven, and who was dressed as you know, like a French revolutionary and stuff like that, and they were waiting their turn to go back, and they come out as something else. It was kind of an interesting movie. It's an old movie, and I can't remember the name
maybe
of it.
it's a remake of it because this only came out a couple of years ago, and now you can get it off of Netflix, or I actually saw it, I think, on HBO.
Okay.
And I think it's still periodically running there. So if you can catch that, watch
Cloud
that.
9.
It's got a lot of good actors in it too. Tom Hanks is in it, and Halle Berry, she's in it. I can't think of the others right now, but anyway, it's really a good movie, so you can watch that if you want.
Okay.
Now, you know, we might not have time to run energy work tonight because, look, we're getting down there, but it's a complicated subject, so I want to cover it thoroughly. Now, then we have country karma. Country karma. Now, you know, I was reading something.
Yeehaw. Not that kind of country.
Yeah. No, not country as in, you know, country music.
Continents.
Well, I read something recently or saw it on the internet where the United States has been involved in 138 different little wars around the world, plus big ones. And they compared it to other nations and other countries, and it was minuscule, the other countries. So I was thinking, oh my God, we have so much country karma to resolve. And when you think about sometimes the big bad guys, you know, sometimes they'll play out both sides of the war so that they can profit with the war machines and stuff with the big almighty dollar.
Yep.
So that's bad karma.
But believe me, you know my view of what happened in Southeast Asia from 60 to 75. And I really know there's a lot of bad karma caused by a lot of major corporations who I will not name. However, they are guilty, and our boys who are home now from that godforsaken war are still dying from the things that they invented to make life easier.
Yeah, I know. Well, and you know, the thing is that when I was channeling for some information about this specific show we're doing, I found that we would need around the world at least 500 sessions to resolve the country karma via transmuting it into grace and mercy.
Of the United States only?
Of the United States only. And that's a big job because even if you did it one time a week, how many years would it take off to pay off? And you'd have to have groups all over doing it because it's such an enormous job. It wouldn't. One person just can't wipe it all out. You see what I mean?
What if you had, like, I won't say the entire population of this country, but you know, it's like 300 million people or something like this. So what if you had like 20 million people praying about this? You should be able to knock some of it out.
If you had 20 million people praying to resolve and transmute country karma into mercy and grace, we could knock it out in a year or two instead of much more than that.
Well, aren't the light workers across the country doing this work, but we're not in those numbers?
We're not in those numbers, and really there's less than you think because karma is not a well understood subject by most people, and so there aren't that many people, and usually even if it is a well understood, it's towards the end of the class work, so that somebody has to go through a long period of training to even get to the karma classes because it requires training. And so what I've done is I've tried to simplify it as simple so that anybody in any church or anybody who prays or does meditation and says any of this, that they can do this safely. So that's the key. I'm going to put these prayers, by the way, on my website tomorrow. I didn't get to it yet, but I will put them there for those of you who are interested in doing this. And I certainly would love it if you would. And finally, world karma. World karma.
Yeah.
Oh my God, when I asked information on this, we need at least 1,000 sessions run one time a week by groups of light workers, whether people are prayer groups, healers, spiritual people, psychics, whomever is drawn to do this work, because that's why we keep having all these skirmishes and wars and fights. And so
from the looks of the thing, it's us doing it.
Yeah, well, it is.
We have the most karmic residue of any country.
Yes, and so anyway, that's the way to resolve it, is to ask God to transmute it into mercy and grace for us. Because heck, if you just run a karma, you release it, and then you suffer the consequences. So that's the caveat. Do it no more than one time a week. And here's something else that's very, very important, is if you find when you do any of this karmic work that it's starting to snowball or too many problems are cropping up at one time or too many challenges, it's time to ease up until it's completely resolved and you've had time to regroup.
You went too far ahead.
Yeah, it started to snowball too fast, too much, so that, you had to just lay back and let it finish its transmutation into mercy and grace and stop for a while, because you don't want it to get where the person has a nervous breakdown or wind up dying or whatever like that. So now for those of you who don't understand what a light worker is, because that term is bandied about a lot. Basically, a light worker is a person who comes in to share their light. It could be your grandchild, who just lights up everybody's smile when they see them. See?
He certainly does.
He's a light worker. It could be your grandmother who goes to church every day. You remember in The Godfather, the movie, where the mother always went to church every single day to pray for her family, right?
Well, you're in that business, you need prayer.
Yeah. So, just for instance, as examples, it's basically anybody who shines their joy, their light, their happiness, because, think about it. If you're happy and you go in a room, you light everybody up. But if you're really a bummer, then when you go in, you bring everybody down.
You bring the mood down.
So being a light worker is anybody who can shine their light and cheer people up and just shine their light, basically. It's love. The light is love. That's the essence of love.
That's right. There's no, somebody once said, what is the difference between God and good? And I believe it was Wayne Dyer who said it. He was talking to somebody who was he was some kind of thing in the middle, not in the Middle East, in Asia, that was he had an ashram, you know, it's like a shrine type
Yeah.
of place. And when he would ask all his students when they came in, and he said to them, he goes, "What's the difference between God and good?" And the person couldn't answer it, so he just did this, and he did that, and there was no difference between God and good.
Same.
It's the same thing. So, you know.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's what I found. It was pretty interesting because.
Huh. Well, you know, now we talked about the good side, the light worker. I can guarantee you, if you're a pedophile, a child or spouse abuse, a whiner, a constant griper, a mercenary, a serious criminal, or even someone who just makes their family miserable all the time.
Politician.
Well, you know, you see, the thing is all these things have dark aspects to them.
I know.
That's the thing. So they're building bad karma when they do that. So, you know, that's the way it is. So the way for anyone who has built negative karma, besides doing asking God to transmute your negative karma into grace and mercy, is to build good karma. You know, you can build good karma by doing really good deeds. Helping people. You know, let's say you have an elderly neighbor who can't shovel snow. Well, when it snows deep, well, you know, shovel their if it's no sweat off your nose, you know, shovel their walk too. You have an elderly neighbor who can't get out to go to the grocery store. You know, take them buy them some groceries, give it to them. Or, you know, if somebody needs money and you have plenty, give it to them with no expectation of return.
I forgot who I was talking to. I said he did an experiment where they were in the drive-thru at one of the local donut shops, and the guy just paid for everything for the car behind him.
Oh, that's nice.
And bought them coffee and this, that, the other, and then and you would be surprised how the next person did that for the car behind them, and this carried on for quite a while. That they were buying the coffee for the person behind them.
Yeah, that, you know, I've read about that.
I mean, I would recommend it at the Verrazano, being $15 a pop, but then again, you know, doing something like that is very nice.
Yeah, they call that paying it forward.
Paying it forward,
Paying
that's
it forward. You know, so I think that that's a wonderful thing. And, you know, another sign of karma in play is chronic bad luck. Chronic bad luck. You know, nothing ever
But those
goes
are the people
your way.
we were talking about before. They constantly say, if I didn't have bad luck, I'd have no luck.
And they created.
Because they keep on empowering it, you know. You know, they don't grasp the concept.
I know.
You know, I tried to make some person I know who's just like that understand this very thing. And it just seems like every time I talk to them, I hear the same thing, and, you know, it's so close they want to go and cut those cords. Because, you know, I just don't want to hear it all the time.
I know. You get tired of it. Well, you know, karma will make your life better in the long run, and it will make the world a better place by doing these sessions and these prayers and the transmutation of the karma, along with massive cookie and scan disc. Now, we've done that show, and you'd probably want to watch that, because these are long-term things. Like I've told you, we've run karma transmutation sessions for at least a decade. And along with massive cookie and scan disc, which will deal with implants, devices, etheric things that you can't even name, tags, shackles, cords, and so forth. Like, that's a scenario like if you had a rope or you have problems with your throat and you always feel like you can't wear anything around your neck, well, you know, you might have been hung or something like that in another life, and so you still have that etheric rope around your neck, so you can't see it, but it's there all the same unless you have clairvoyant sight, so that has to be removed, and that's part of the massive cookie and scan disc. So, and in the past we needed a soul retrieval quite a bit too, but nowadays I don't think I'd recommend that even, because I think God is taking care of bringing all of our soul pieces back together.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's something that hopefully, remember, if you have bad aspects out there, they're joined with the good one too, so that's important too. So it's very important that you do no more than one time a week of any of these different categories of karma. You can do, let's say you do it for an hour in a prayer energetic session. You could break it down for 10 minutes personal, 10 minutes family, 10 minutes ancestral, 10 minutes country, world, and soul group, like that. And then that way you chip away with it a little bit at a time. If you do more than that, you won't be happy with the results. So, you know, I wouldn't recommend that for sure. And let's see, we might have time to at least scan a little bit and see how we're doing with that.
Who do you want to scan?
Well, let's see.
Scan Pete?
Yeah, we can scan Pete, and because he was one of our volunteers, and we'll basically just ask, what we'll do is see Mother Mary with the chakras on her body. It's the easiest way to discern if someone has karma, is to scan as though someone is turned sideways, and we're going to check here, 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 here. But we do it in the form of a Mother Mary in the electromagnetic aura, so, or biofield. And so let's just check Pete. I'll check him, and then you can check the next one. So, Lord, please show me where Pete has karma in his body that needs to be cleared. This is scanning the front and back of his body. Third eye, throat. Oh, it looks like it's going to go all the way down. I think I need more room. I made it too big. Wait a minute. Let me start from where I ended. Yeah, see, almost every single one of the chakras has karma to be clear. Now, of course, the other way to resolve your karma is, of course, to pay it. And that could be one of these things where, instead of transmuting it, let's say you were in your chart, you had written in there that you'd have a car accident and you'd be paralyzed. But instead of being paralyzed, maybe you only break a toe. You know what I mean? That's the difference between paying the karma and transmuting it into grace. Now, would you like to check one of our other volunteers, Pat, and see what she needs to have cleared?
Okay. I feel every chakra going down.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. A lot of this stuff is stored in our chakras. Yeah. And then, let's see, we have Brian to check, right? So I'll do Brian. Lord, please show me where Brian has karma that needs to be cleared. Yeah, and it seems like they get bigger as they're going down.
Well, he gets bigger as he's going down.
Would you like me to check you? And
Sure.
you can check me?
I'm ticklish.
Okay, well, I'm going to do holographic scanning, but Lord, please show me where Tommy has karma that needs to be cleared. Front, back. Third eye. Yep, see, almost everybody, unless you've done massive work, karma, transmutation into grace and mercy, will have tons and tons of karma. Now check me, because I know I've incurred a little. I know I've incurred a little lately.
Right here.
Where is that, the heart?
Heart.
Mm-hmm. I can feel your hands.
Right here.
Mm-hmm.
I think to do your tush, I got the.
Okay, see, I told you I know at least 2 sessions for family and 10 for soul group. So yeah. See, having done this a decade, it's unbelievable how much karma people have.
You can just keep on picking it up.
Yeah, well, and not only from ourselves, but from our families.
Our families and everybody around us, and all the stuff that they draw.
Yeah.
And they draw it, and you live with them, so.
So, folks, I'll put this on my website, the prayers, so that you can do this work and say these prayers to God and let God take these things down. Okay, so you can go on there, because we've run out of time just about, so we won't be able to actually send out the energy as we normally do.
You want to read a prayer?
I don't think we have time to do that. Yeah, well, you know what? I'll read the prayer, and we'll do it for a minute, just so you can feel it. Yeah. We send energy to you, God, in the vibration of unconditional love, and ask in the name of Jesus Christ that you send back your great energy to facilitate the work we're doing here today. We ask that you send your Holy Spirit to activate the energy of love and karma transmutation into grace and mercy in all dimensions and all worlds in our TV group soul bodies that is appropriate and that can safely be done today. We ask that you transmute any negative karma into mercy and grace so that we can all be made healthy and whole in all worlds, all dimensions that are appropriate. We thank you for the healing, God. Your light and your protection, thy will be done. So that'll run for a few minutes until we time out. Now also, I also have a little announcement to make that I plan on in the fall at some point doing a crystal workshop and teaching you how to clear deeper, denser energies. So please email with any to Adolphina Shephard at msn.com if you're interested in attending, because I plan on putting that together.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now, what do you want to say?
I'll attend. You know, all this karma stuff, right, is, you know, I won't say it was new to me, because I used to always hear people say, oh, you know, that's bad karma. I always thought it was something that was mystic.
Yeah.
You know, but now I see it's attached to all of us.
Yeah. All
Anyway,
right. You know what?
Time to say goodbye.
We're getting the cue. We're getting the cue. It's
Just
time
giving
to
me
say,
karma.
yeah, it's time to say goodbye, and we
Okay.
hope you enjoyed the information in the show. So
Thank
please
our
come and
sponsors.
see us next time. And
Yeah, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Antonio's Pork Store in Tottenville, Antonio Rizzo, proprietor, and Aardvark Pest Control, Vincent Bonacore, president. Great Kills.
bye. See you next
night, everybody.
time. Good night.